Senator Britt.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I do want to add to the list of things that Senator Blackburn pointed out that my colleagues on the other side of the aisle failed to point out in the last 4 years. I mean, you had President Biden who said, the Supreme Court, this is a quote, tried to block me from relieving student loan, but they didn't stop me. I'm going to keep going. I just relieved student debt for over 5 million Americans after the Supreme Court had said something totally different. Additionally, we can't forget that at the end of his term, he tried to add an amendment to the U.S. Constitution. So in addition to the list she gave, there are much more examples. Look, I want to turn first to Mrs. Slater and to both of you. Congratulations on your nomination and welcome to your family. I know that y'all are very proud to have them in this position and their willingness to serve the country. Sitting up here, I can tell you it's not just you that serves, it's your entire family. So thank you for your willingness to be a part of this. Ms. Slater, look, I really enjoyed our conversation. I want to touch on an issue that we did discuss in our meeting. As the daughter of 2 small business owners, I constantly look at what's happening in our country and think, how does this affect the little guy? How do we make sure that Main Streets can thrive? And even in a place like our defense community or our shipbuilding community, where it's been declassified that China can build ships at 232 times the speed of America, making sure that our small businesses, our entrepreneurs have an opportunity to thrive and create and innovate, not only living their American dream, but providing such an important pillar of our entire society, I think is really important. I'd like to know, how do you view the Antitrust Division's role with respect to ensuring that these small businesses and entrepreneurs can thrive and compete in today's economy?
Well, thank you for the question, Senator. I really did enjoy visiting with you as well. And thanks for your kind words about families. It's very important. In broad strokes, the role of the Antitrust Division, if done right, is to keep markets competitive. And if we can do that, and if we can play a role in ensuring that, because markets are competitive, the barriers to entry are relatively low, and there's opportunities for small businesses to enter, to scale up if they're online, to expand if they're brick and mortar, then that's a really important function that we can serve in that regard.
Absolutely, and do I have your commitment to continue to look for ways to ensure that those barriers are removed and so people can be a part of the American dream?
Yes, Senator.
Thank you. Mr. Blanche, I'd like to begin with an issue we also discussed and one that I discussed with Attorney General Bondi during her hearing, and that is the Executive Office of Immigration Review. And obviously that oversees our nation's immigration courts and is housed at DOJ. As I mentioned during Attorney General Bondi's hearing, during the Biden administration, the court backlog grew from 1.4 million in FY21 all the way to 3.5 million in FY24. During the Biden administration, there seemed to be a kind of sort of a culture that was fostered of just not completing cases. And I say that because if you look at the numbers from FY21 to FY24, immigration judges failed to adjudicate over 340,000 asylum claims. And I want to put that in perspective for you. If you take the previous 6 fiscal years combined, that is 26 times higher than all of those put together. And so during the first Trump administration, though, what we saw them actually put in kind of a more effective system to look at ways to ensure that we were establishing a metrics-based system for these immigration judges, and that we were actually looking to reduce the abuse of case continuances. It made a difference. Unfortunately, the Biden administration did not continue that. So when you're confirmed, you're going to oversee the day-to-day operations of DOJ, and I would like to know, will you commit to me to looking at this, to taking a look at what is not working, to looking at what the Trump administration did previously and figure out how we can get this back on track?
Of course, absolutely, Senator. Yes.
Thank you. Will you also commit to reevaluating the Biden administration's decision policies that have encouraged the use of this administrative closures of immigration cases and return this EOIR to the posture of actually adjudicating and completing these cases?
Yes, I will work with Attorney General Bondi and for sure look at that, yes.
Excellent. In a similar vein, I wanted to note that I was heartened to see Attorney General Bondi's February 5th memo directing DOJ to the extent allowed by law to end the funding for sanctuary cities that flout our nation's immigration laws. The memo also stated that DOJ will take appropriate legal action to challenge sanctuary jurisdictions, the laws, the policies, and the actions around our country. These sanctuary jurisdictions and their reckless policies undermine the safety of all Americans, and they have no business receiving taxpayer dollars and should be held accountable for their decisions to violate the law. I know that you'll work closely with Attorney General Bondi on this issue, and I just wanted to say thank you, and you have my full support. Lastly, Mr. Blanchard, I wanted to raise one more issue that I also raised with Attorney General Bondi, but I think it's really important. I, along with my colleagues here on both sides of the aisle, I'm sure, have experienced DOJ's total lack of responsiveness when it comes to congressional oversight in recent years. In my case, I had a letter to Attorney General Garland regarding the failure to enforce 18 U.S.C. 15, Section 1507 at the home of our Supreme Court justices, and it went unanswered for over a year. As you remember, after the leaked Dobbs decision, they allowed them to picket and parade, which 1507 says you absolutely cannot do with the intent to influence an outcome. When I finally did receive a response, it didn't even include any actual answers to the questions I raised, and in fact, it didn't even attempt to answer them. We had slides from where the U.S. Marshals were actually directed to and encouraged, actively discouraged, of making arrest. And so will you commit to me that DOJ, under the new leadership, won't follow this same pattern over the last 4 years and will instead work to be responsive to congressional oversight and efficiency in a timely manner and get to the bottom of what happened and why Section 1507 was not followed by in the way that it should have been?
Yes, I commit to that.
Okay. Senator